Welcome to our next Fearless Chat. And as we do, we're going to begin with the breath. So wherever you are, find the most comfortable position with where you are. Maybe you shift your hips a little, move your knees, shake a shoulder. Take your time to find, how can I be most comfortable right now? And if it's available to you, it is highly recommended to take a moment to just let your eyes fall to close. If you can't close your eyes, it's all good, it's all sweet. Just find yourself just softly gazing forward or just beyond the edge of your nose. And from this place, say thank you to yourself for arriving. You've chosen to be here in this moment. Something has drawn you here and you've made the commitment to turning up, following the Zoom link and joining the Fearless community today. So just say, well done. There's a lot of shit going on. And right now, you chose to be with us and we are very thankful for it. So with that thanks, taking a big, deep breath deep into your belly and feel that fill up, fill up, fill up, and hold as long as you can. And then when you're ready and inspired to do so, just let that breath go. On the next couple of breaths, as you breathe in, begin to notice how much space you have within you. Within your belly, within your chest, down into your hips. And then let that breath go. On the next breath in, we're going to notice how much space we have within us, but we're going to expand that out down the legs, across the shoulder and down our arms. See how much of you can feel on the inside with your breath. Bring in your full self to this moment. Staying connected to the full self you have within you, we're going to take a breath in to fill ourselves up with new inspiration. And on our breath out, we're going to notice how much space we have around us. Now that first breath may have just reached to just onto your lap or just beyond your knees, and that's fine. But let's take up some more space. Taking a breath in and feeling all of the space within you. And then as you breathe out, expanding the space around you. And just noticing from this present place where you notice how much space you have within you and around you, how much more your thoughts and heart and sense of self can expand. Continuing to notice the space within you and the space around you, begin to recognize your connection in this moment. In this moment, connecting with all 30 participants on this call. And noting that we may be in our own physical space, but we are all connected in breath, we are connected in intention, and we are connected in spirit of being together in community. So with all of that beautiful knowledge, taking a big, deep breath to fill in all of the space within you, and then as you breathe out, it's all the space around you and through the ether into our community this afternoon, all 30 of us here on the Fearless Chat, ready to meet with Amy Noelle and get some shit done. Welcome everybody to your Fearless Chat.
Yes. We have this gesture in Fearless Communicators. We call it elevated sparkleation. So if you feel compelled to elevate, sparklate, this is a gesture. Welcome to Fearless Chat 16. My name is Eduardo Placer. I am a story doula and the founder of Fearless Communicators. We are a diverse international public speaking coaching business, and we're committed to work with thought leaders who are poised to make the biggest difference and work with them on what they say and how they say it. There are various ways that we work with clients. One of the ways we do it is through keynote prep and the various incidental ways in which leaders show up to speak publicly. We also have our signature program, which is called the Fearless Force Public Speaking for Visionary Women Leaders. If you're an alumna of that program, you can just kind of elevate, sparkle, and wave yourself. Yes, we have like 6 or 7 of those people on our call. And we've worked with women. We've done 19 programs in 7 cities, 3 continents, over 100 women. And one statistic that I'm really proud of is that 46% of those women are diverse in age, in sexual orientation, in race, and also ethnicity. And I found myself in the middle of one of our Fearless Force programs in San Francisco. Actually, 2 of those women are on this call right now, Linda and Angie. And it was disrupted, and the women never got the chance to share their speech in front of an audience. And, so we kind of paused that, and in that first space of pause, found myself then exiled from my home, which is New York City. So I live in New York City. And since early March, I was in San Francisco, then I was in Boulder, Colorado, and now I'm in Miami Beach at my parents' apartment while my parents are in Boston, Massachusetts. And we started this Fearless Chat series as an immediate response, knowing that we had amazing thought leadership in our community, with our clients, with our colleagues, with our friends, and really leaning on them as a resource to provide and lead the conversations that felt really relevant to this moment. We just celebrated the 4-year anniversary of our Fearless Force program, and then did 4 sessions featuring 4 of our alumni. The series we're calling Spark, Shift, Shit, Shine. So this is number 3 in that series. The other 2 are on YouTube. We can share that link with you later. The first one is about sparking. What is sparking inside of you now? What are those ideas that maybe we've been hiding, keeping down, or in this present moment, new ideas are emerging? How do we source that from a place of power and what we really truly desire? Then once we do that, how do we acknowledge that space to pivot? Like, what is the moment to pivot? How do we pivot? We may have something that we're longing for. We may be a lawyer, but we really want to open a green cafe, right? So how do we get from one point to the other? So Tiffany Brown led that conversation. And now we're talking about getting shit done. And I can't think of anyone better to get shit done than my dear friend, Amy Noelle. Amy Noelle wears many, many hats that she will share, including a corporate HR executive. She also runs the largest B&I group, which is a networking group in New York. She also runs a nonprofit. She's also many things, including my favorite, a competitive baton twirler. That is my everything. As a little child growing up in Miami, Florida, I wanted nothing more than to twirl batons. So with that as a context, it's my pleasure to introduce Amy Noelle. And I would love everyone, if you have a blank sheet of paper, to find a blank sheet of paper to have, because we're going to be doing some work off of that blank sheet of paper. So with that, Amy Noelle! Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Yes. All right, let's get this all queued up. So, hi, everyone. Super excited to be here. Hang on one second. I need to switch something because the chat button is in the chat box is in the way. There we go. So I'm super excited to be here and talk to you guys about how I get shit done. And as Eduardo mentioned, if you can have a piece of paper nearby, we're going to use this later in my talk. So what I'm going to do is to take you through a story of when I had a complete almost meltdown of overwhelm and how I was able to navigate through that. And it's by actually using and turning a simple piece of paper into what I now call a shit sheet. So I'll take you through that process, and I want you to start to think about something that you might be overwhelmed with in your life at this particular moment in time, because I do know that that kind of thought and feeling is definitely present for many of us at this particular moment in time. So let's dive in, right? So one day I'm sitting in front of my computer, as I always do. I have my chai latte to my left, my mouse on the right, and I had just gotten back from being out of the office, and now my boss is out of the office this week, and it's Monday, and I have a million emails, right? I'm totally stuck in email jail, and I have to figure out how to get out. And there's lots of things that I'm now overdue on and owe my team. So I start to look at my calendar.
Sorry about that.
Can't hear.
Okay, let's see. I think I'm now unmuted. Yes?
Yes, sorry, but I think what happened, yay, fails. I think people are coming in and they're not muting, and I muted you by accident.
Yep.
Not intentional.
No worries. No worries. All good. All good. All right. So, right, I'm in email jail. Lots and lots of stuff to do. And I've got to try and figure out how I start to get shit done, right? So I look at my calendar and I see my normal set of conference calls, right? I have Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm on Zoom all the time. This is a normal, normal time for me, right? I also see that I have a meeting with my nonprofit. So I run a nonprofit called Lend a Hand Uganda, and I work to raise money for Ugandan orphans and their families to get them out of poverty. And I'm meeting with my board on Tuesday night. I also see, as Eduardo mentioned, that I am running my Elevate meeting, as I do each and every week on Wednesday mornings. I have over 100 people on, now we're on a Zoom call, so 100 people on a Zoom call. I have to bring my A game each and every week in order to effectively run that meeting. I also really like to do yoga. So I want to do yoga on Monday nights and Wednesday nights. And then on Thursday, I'm going out of town. Now, this is pre-COVID, but I'm going out of town, getting on a bus to go and visit my family because my niece's birthday party is on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to a whole bunch of family time. And so all of a sudden, my phone lights up, and it's my niece Lexi, and she's about to turn 10, right? So let me show you a picture of her. She's crazy, right? So in my family, we call her Coco Loco, but this is a little earlier than 10. So here she is at 10, still crazy. And she texts me and she goes, Aunt Amy, will you please make me a chocolate llama cake with chocolate chip filling? Please and thank you. Now, I've been a former professional baker in my life, so for her to make this request of me is really not a big deal, but I've never made a llama cake before, and now my life looks totally different. Like, look at all this shit I now have to do, right? So I start to think about it. I'm like, okay, what kind of llama cake can I make? How can I make this easy on myself? We kind of text back and forth, some pictures, some ideas, and finally she sends me this. Aunt Amy, can you make me a no problema cake? So I text back, well, of course, that will be no problema, right? And so I'm like, okay, great. We've got a concept. I can make a cake. I'll figure it out later. I put my phone down, and it's at that moment that the pit of my stomach, I can just feel it tightening, and all of that overwhelm starts to creep in. I can feel my shoulders start to roll in, right? And all of a sudden, everything starts to bubble up because I'm like, how in the world am I going to make this cake? Because I'm looking at my calendar. I have to make the cake before Saturday, right? But there's just no time. It takes 12 hours to make a cake like this that she's thinking about. And I'm like, no, there's no way. And I'm like, I have a big problema. Now, in this moment, I can totally just let the shit hit the fan, or I can figure out how to get shit done. Now, shit in my world stands for stop and see, ask for help, set an intention, and take action. So let's start with the stop and see. When I start to experience overwhelm, I have to stop the action. So that's where I take my piece of paper. So everyone take your piece of paper. I'm going to fold it in half, right? So fold it in half. I'm going to fold it in half again. And then I'm going to take it and fold it in half again, right? So now I'm going the opposite direction. And then one more time, fold it in half. Right, so
The
now
origami portion of
this is the origami portion, yeah. So now I should have something that has 16 different boxes on it, and they're roughly the same shape and size, right? So now across the top, oh, and then I write the letters. So down the side, write the letters S-H-I-T. All right, so it should look like my sheet up here. And across the top, just in little tiny, just really little teeny tiny up top, right? Write the categories of the things that you have to work on, right? So for me, I'm looking at making this llama cake, all the things I have to do at work, and then raising money for my nonprofit, okay? But in this example, I'm just gonna focus on the llama cake so you can see it in action. So all of the things are kind of like when I get to this overwhelm point, everything is just swirling around in my head. So I have to be able to actually see all of the things that there are to do. And I have to get all of that just out of my head, right? So I start to think, what are like the 4 biggest things that need to be accomplished? What are those like 4 milestones, right? In order to do the thing that I'm up to, what actually has to be accomplished? So I think about it, well, I have to buy stuff, right? There's some ingredients and things I need to buy. I have to bake the cake. I have to make it into the cake, the shape of a llama, because Lexi's expecting a 3-dimensional llama as her cake. And then I have to decorate it, right? But when I stop to see that I can break something down into just 4 pieces, the bigness of this project actually starts to disappear. So now it's time to ask for help. So I pick up my phone again and I FaceTime my father. He's sitting in the backyard. His still jet black hair contrasts against the green of the trees behind him. And I say, Dad, we're making a llama cake. And he's like, a what? And I'm like, a llama cake. And he starts to protest, but then he realizes that I have inherited his love of figuring out how to make things. And he also knows that he is probably never going to say no to me. So he's like, sure, sweetheart, what is it? How can I help, right? What do you need? So I tell him, all right, I need a board for the bottom of the llama, something for the llama to stand on. I need some pipes that I can use as the llama legs. I need some cardboard for in between the different layers. And I need some straws to kind of support the llama's neck. And he's like, well, actually, I have all of that shit in the basement, so we should be good. The only thing that I don't have, he says, are straws. And he's like, I could just go to Starbucks and steal some. I'm like, okay, Dad, you go do that. So then I ask him to put my mom on the phone. So now here's Mom. She had just gotten back from teaching Zumba at the senior center, and she drives a shiny red Beetlebug convertible. And I say, Mom, I need some help. Can you go to the store and buy some ingredients for me? And so I start to give her the ingredients list, and I get to the part where I need 6 pounds of butter. She doesn't really like that part, but she agrees anyway, and is like, yeah, I'm going to the grocery store tomorrow anyway, so no problema. I'll just get all your things too. It's in this moment that I add my parents to my shit sheet, and I realize the power of actually asking for help. Now, at this point, a lot of people might start diving in and doing a lot of shit and like taking a whole bunch of action and like trying to just get things done. But I like to stop and actually set an intention. Because what I could have done, I could have called my brother, interrupted him from running his business, and said to him, look, I have too much shit going on. I do not have time to make your daughter a cake. Why don't you get a cake from the grocery store? I'll go on Amazon, buy a llama cake topper, and, you know, just call it done. It'd be so much easier. But I start to think, and I start to picture her sitting at her birthday party with all of her friends gathered around, ready to blow out the candles. And I realize that all I want for her is for her to feel festive. So I write feeling festive on my shit sheet, and I set my intention. Now, here's the thing. I'm not actually interested in putting a lot of things on my to-do list, right? But I am interested in the feeling that it creates, right? So inside of feeling festive, that whole entire week completely flew by. I'm sharing on my conference calls and in my Zoom meetings, like, hey, I'm making a llama cake. Or guess what? What do you think my niece asked me to make her for her birthday, right? And everything is just feeling festive. Everyone is invested in this cake. They want to see pictures when it's done. And the whole entire week just completely flies by. All of my meetings are incredible successes. The party set. My brother and my sister-in-law, they bought the llama balloons, they bought the llama plates, they bought the llama napkins. All that's left to do is to make the llama cake. So now it's time to take action. So I wake up early on Friday morning and I go into the kitchen and I see that my mother has actually set out all of the ingredients and all of the things that I need to make the cake. And I can immediately jump into action and I start mixing the batter and getting the cakes in the oven. The smell of chocolate cake completely permeates the whole entire house, and the cakes are finished right as my 9 a.m. conference call begins. So as the workday winds down, now it's time for the caking to begin. So I start to make the filling and I build the layers. I start to stack everything, make it into the shape of the llama. At one point, my mother comes into the kitchen and all she does is sit down and she just starts watching me. She's never actually seen me make a cake like this before. And just knowing that she's there, knowing that she's watching her daughter make a cake for her granddaughter, everything just made sense. We had taken all the steps and the only thing that there was left to do was to pick up the pastry bag and start decorating. So the party is a huge hit. And as I take a bite of the llama cake, I realize all of the shit that I actually have been able to accomplish just in that week. Now, in our lives, I know that we have bigger problemas than making a llama cake, right? We have our well-being, we have our careers, we have our families, we have our projects, we have our hobbies, all of the shit that there is for us to do. And it's so easy to get completely overwhelmed by all of that. So the next time that you get completely overwhelmed, I invite you to, pull out your shit sheet and start to write down so you can get clear on your priorities. Haha, there we go. And start to get shit done, right? So remember, shit, we look at being able to stop and see, ask for help, set an intention, and take action. Now go out there and get shit done.
Hashtag no big deal, Amy. That is totally the llama cake that you made.
Yes, that's the actual llama cake.
This is the actual llama cake that she made. Hashtag no big deal. I mean, beyond. So elevated sparkulation to you, divine Miss Amy Noelle, for walking us through that story. And I'm curious, just if I can, if we can get off the share for a second.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if people created shit sheets and if we can see the shit sheets that maybe people created along the way. I know
Oh
some
my God,
people
I love it.
do not, right? So what I would love is, perhaps to use some time to kind of work through. I know that there's, specifically now, I think within this, like we're home, there are many things that people are juggling simultaneously. And I think that feeling of overwhelm is something that can really, stop people in their tracks. I feel like, in the email that I sent, I tracked that my commute from my bed to the table is 12.4 seconds or something like that. I think that's my morning commute now. And like when the moment I sit at my computer, I immediately feel like there's so much stuff that has to get done, right? So I love that there's this framework, and I would love for everyone to just take a moment, if you can, get the sheet of paper and walk through it, and perhaps choose like one thing that they really want to get done. And then what we're gonna do is we'll do some hot seats, and then we'll kind of work through with Amy Noelle, our expert, and like co-resource the support for each other. Is there anyone who was kind of tracking along who wanted to share their shit sheet? I know people are actively working now. I can actually, Deborah, do you have one? I have something to share. Linda Reed, yes, Linda Reed.
Awesome.
Linda Reed, Fearless Force 19, San Francisco. I'm gonna unmute you, Linda Reed.
Okay. So in the spirit of confession, I have invoices for one company that I haven't sent in since 2017. And there's not a lot of them, but it's 2017, and it's 2020 now. So I put finish invoices as the first one.
Awesome.
And I wrote stop and see. The stop and see was just, it's really about taking action. Like stopping and seeing for me is being, or it's the intention of actually handling this, doing something about it. And what I have to do is ask for help from Jocelyn, who can actually help me in the company fix this. And I took the first step just to say, I talked with the head of the department, the COO, and I told him it was a confession. And he was great. He said, go to Jocelyn.
Was that like just now on this call?
No.
Oh.
I mean, it was like, but it was Friday.
Oh,
like
I'd be like, yeah, that's getting shit done.
No. Yeah, I was getting shit done. No, it's actually like, who can I call where I have to do it?
Yes.
So I called the guy where it's like, and I asked him if he was a Catholic. He said, yeah. He said, I have a confession. Like, you will understand this more than most. And he was great. So
I
he
just
really
want to put in here just for a second, just so people get a context, because I know this about Linda. So Linda grew up in Michigan, and her dream was to be a Roman Catholic priest. At 8, she used to play priest with her little brothers playing altar boys. It's one of my favorites, until her hopes of being a Catholic priest were crushed when they said a woman can't be a priest. Well, yet. So anyway.
A bitter moment, but I recovered. Yeah. So I asked, first of all, the big guy for help, and he said, go to Jocelyn, work with her, and it's no problem. We'll, just get a test and we'll help you do it.
Yeah. So Linda, I want to interrupt and ask you a question.
Yeah.
I don't want to step over, because you are totally going to get this done, right? Not even a question.
No.
What's the actual intention? So what's that feeling that you're going to bring as you're having conversations with Jocelyn?
Well, I only know completion. Is there another intention I should have, or a feeling?
Well, for me, an intention is a feeling. So mine was feeling festive. So I wanted to make sure I made a cake and everyone's going to have a party. So that whole entire week for me actually was a party, because that was the intention that I had set.
I'd love a party for this. I need a party when I'm done. I think the intention is to feel like an adult.
Yeah.
Is to feel like a grown-up, is to just get over this COVID thing. Has been a really interesting meditation on how much I indulge my kid, and becoming an adult, and so wanting to have the intention to grow myself up into the adult that I am.
Yeah, there's a feeling of ownership, right? Taking responsibility, right? All inside of being a
it keeps
grown-up.
me back. It holds me back. So it's liberation.
Yeah.
Liberation.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think
That's hot.
liberation.
Liberation is hot. I love how we got
Yeah.
there, Linda. I'm feeling
Yeah.
that.
I think
Yum.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here's a tip that I do tell everyone. When you
Okay.
fill out your shit sheet, actually put that somewhere that you are going to see it every single day. Now that we're all home, it's probably easy. It just goes right next to the computer. I like to sometimes, I don't have it on my screen now, but sometimes I'll take a picture of it and set it as my lock screen so that I have to be looking at it because I touch my phone like 12 times a day, 12,000 times a day. But, right. But look to see where can you put that, right? Because it's taken you now 3 years to actually accomplish this, right? And now you're about to get shit done. So you want to have that visual reminder right in front of you that it smacks you in the face so that you're like, oh, I'm a grown up. I'm just going to go get shit done.
Yeah. Good.
Linda, Elevated Sparkulation, thank you for
Thank you.
being our first volunteer. I want to acknowledge Jihan. It seemed like you had a question. Did you want to ask the question that you put in the chat to Amy? I can unmute you. Okay, great. We can't hear you, Jihan.
Better?
Oh, there we go.
Muted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so when it comes to making a cake, okay, you can ask for help. You can have your dad buy this, your mom do that. But for example, when you have to run your Zoom session yourself, and then you need to go to town and things that you, and reply to your emails and this kind of stuff, it's not that easy to ask for help. How do you deal with this kind of shit to be done?
Absolutely. So I run a Zoom meeting now. My networking meeting is completely online. For the last 10 weeks, we've met virtually. So, and each week there's been over 100 people on the meeting. So I have a lot of experience now, 10 weeks later, running Zoom meetings. And I physically can't do it all by myself. So I do ask for help. I've enrolled people who are in my group into being my attendance taker. I have someone else who's responsible for the mute button because I don't want to deal with having to be responsible for the mute button. So I make someone a co-host. I have someone else be the timekeeper. There's someone else who manages some of the breakout rooms. So, right, I have multiple people on the meeting who are, part of the meeting. They participate and they have an extra, each one of them has one extra responsibility so that I can focus on, showing up and running the meeting and facilitating the conversations instead of dealing with some of the technical aspects, because that's the thing that for me is what works, right? Now for you, it might be something different. So you really want to look at, okay, I want to do this Zoom call, where can I ask for help? Maybe it's asking for help from, if you have children, for example, so from a spouse or partner, and just making sure that childcare is under control. There may be other ways that you can think of outside of the meeting that can be asked for help so that you can have dedicated time to run your meeting, right? So is anything in there is there anything that's sparked for you where you might be able to ask for help for your Zoom meeting?
No, the Zoom meeting was an example. I don't do the Zoom meeting. No, but it's interesting to see, like, for me, Zoom meeting is something where you have to be involved yourself. It's not that you're making, you have to be present. So, okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
And the only way that I'm actually present on my Zoom meeting is when I don't have to do all the other extra things. So in that example, it really works to have other people step in.
Jihan, if you're able to, I highly recommend visiting Amy's networking group, which is on Wednesday mornings at 6:30 in the morning. Is that when it is?
We start at 6. We open the room at 6:30. We start at 7 and we go until 9:15. I'll put the website in here if anyone wants to check it out, if anyone's interested in networking for business.
It is a masterclass in running a Zoom meeting. And there are literally 100 people from all over the world that are on that call. And, and you can see how it's seamless, but hearing what she just shared, you can get related to the reason why it's seamless is because she's asked for help. there are a lot of people behind the scenes that are supporting her in that.
That's right.
Would anyone else like to share a shit sheet? Yeah, Allie. Yes, Allie from Washington. Our shaman to be. Yes.
Mine was a little different just because, you know, as you were going through, and I used to make cakes as well years ago. It put me through dental school, and I did everything. So, and now I'm in a situation where it's like, geez, I don't have anybody that I can call to help. So on Saturday, I decided, I learned that morning that my father had passed away, and I thought, here's my reason to just quit dentistry altogether. And so now I have to I'm in the middle of school for large animal massage therapy, and I need to finish it. And so I thought to myself, well, how can anybody else help me through that? What is getting in my way? And grief is getting in my way. And so I thought, I'm going to ask Deborah for help. Yay, Deborah. So I will see her tomorrow. She's going to give me some new tools to help move through grief. And my intention, of course, I'm going to surround myself with abundance. So I have that in mind, because what comes up is fear of when's my next paycheck, right? So if I just set my attention around abundance and just let go of the worry of how, because I'm always taken care of somehow by the universe, and take action, just do it. I don't know. Maybe you have some ideas for the take action part.
Yes. Yeah. Let me please start with condolences for your loss.
Thank you.
Yeah. And right, you said something really important. Just do it. I would not necessarily skip over the grieving part, right? I would definitely include grieving as, you know, one of your actions, because that is really going to be part of what it's going to allow you to actually go out and get shit done, right? So I kind of have that as a step. So then let's break it down, right? So to complete your course in large animal massage, like, first of all, let's actually go back to the stop and see. What are some of those big things that have to be accomplished? Like, what are the milestones for you to graduate and be able to be certified in this area?
I have about 3 more chapters to go, and I know that last week I had so much anxiety around it. It took me just one day to get through one whole chapter. So I thought, okay, now I feel like that's doable.
Mm-hmm.
And I do also have to read a book and write a 5 to 10 page book report on it. Are you kidding me? How many years has it been since I've done a book report? And I'm thinking, can I pay my ex-husband to write a book report for me?
That's asking for help, honey.
That is definitely asking for help. Oh my God. Awesome. All right. So we've got a bunch of chapters. We know a chapter takes a day, right? Give or take. We got to read a book and we've got to write a report, right? And if you put all that together, you know, that means that you're done, right? So now it's about what are the actions that there are inside of there? Because my guess is, right, in order to write a 5 to 10 page report, for example, there are some sub actions that might need to be taken, right? So one of them may need to be talking to your ex-husband, whether you pay him or not, that's on you. And there could be another way to actually ask for help. Maybe he's a reader and an editor, or, right, you know, you can start to look at how do you map things out. But like, so start to think about, just focus on the report for a second. What are some of those actual action steps when you sit down to go write the report? And I think we put Allie back on mute. Oh, there we go.
Okay. So yeah, I just need to, first of all, I need to pick the book. There's a list of books that I can choose from, and I just need to pick and choose wisely something that's, you know, going to be interesting to me so I can read it in a day. And then it should be actually pretty easy for me to sit down and write a report on it and how I'm going to incorporate what I just read into my massage therapy practice. So
yeah, and so it's probably, you know, can be as simple. And here's the thing, right? Our brains, we tend to completely overcomplicate things. That's why this stupid sheet of paper is so powerful, because all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's all I have to do? No problema. That's super easy. I can just go get shit done, right? But just think about it. Right? So it's probably like, you know, you read the book, you write maybe an outline, right? Or maybe you write an opening statement that at least starts to get your brain thinking, right? So those are like a couple of actions. So you don't have to sit down to be like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to write my report now. And it might take you, you know, 3 hours to do that. But if you start to think about, okay, I'm going to sit down and do a quick outline. Here are the things that I might want to talk about in my report, right? Then you maybe step away from that. And then you come back and then you start to look at, okay, let me write this section, right? Or this paragraph or this concept, right? And you can start to break it down into different chunks so that it's not, oh my God, I have to write a book report and I haven't done that in however many years since we were teenagers, right? So start to look at where you can break those things down. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
The
Thank
chunking
you.
is really powerful. And I'm curious if there are other people on the call who have other ideas of actions to take. You know, if you can put that in the chat, you know, who knows, in the crowdsourcing of your sharing alley, you know, some idea may emerge that would feel like, oh, that feels like a really great opportunity. I remember just within the overwhelm, one of my favorite TV shows is a Canadian show called Slings and Arrows about a repertory acting company. And there was this younger actor who was playing Hamlet, who was completely overwhelmed with playing Hamlet. And all the burden of it is like, oh my God, completely in their head about it. And then he had this elder actor who just said to him, it's 5 speeches. If you can just think that it's 5 speeches, you can do the entire play. And I think that the chunking piece like always makes me think of that if you can actually like, I love how Amy was in a granular way with you, Allie, just saying, what are the things, all of a sudden it gives us a little bit of gravity, right? So that was really beautiful, Amy and Allie. Who else wants to be on the shit sheet hot seat? Jim, did you raise your hand? I think Jim raised his hand.
Hands raised.
Jim did this gesture.
Oh, we just need to
Hold
take
on,
Jim
Jim, we're unmuting you.
Well, that wasn't a hand raise, but you know me, Eduardo. I always have shit to do. That needs
You have a lot of shit to do, honey. I
Yeah.
was looking at you. You were right first, and his wife is on the call, by the way, which is amazing.
Where do I start? I got a combination of 2 things. My 82-year-old mother's in Atlanta, and she ran herself over with her car, and now she needs some help from here. She's okay, but she broke her leg. And then at the same time, Sophie and I are still putting together where we're going to be and what the future holds and what our households are. So that's kind of what I've been working on quite a bit. And that's kind of it. Those are my 2 biggest projects.
Perfect. Yeah, I do love that. So I would say, Jim, my suggestion would be to break those into the different columns on the shit sheet. And I get that they may be collapsed, right? Because it may be that you want to go to be with mom and that, right? Because you're trying to figure out where you want to live, right? So for some people, it may seem like things are intertwined. And my suggestion is start with them separate. And then again, once you start to see it, they may end up being, 2 paths may be actually leading to the same place. Though, Jim, I think in your reaction to that, it seems like those are 2 separate conversations.
Well, they are 2 separate. Them blending that, having to do homeschooling with the kids and them just going nuts. So it's just really being able to put things in and trying to give Sophie the space to do her work while all this shit's going on. So,
okay, so which one do you want to focus on right now in the hot seat?
Oh, I think I guess if I was to put on one, it would probably be the only thing I've been assigned for my mother up here is to really get some temporary ramps in place.
Okay.
She lives in a townhouse. It's got, believe it or not, she still drives, or she shouldn't be soon, but And to get her in and out of her place, she has probably about 20 inches of elevation. So I've kind of commissioned myself to really get it. Of course, I always wait because the kids have to be taken care of during the day, and I wait till the last minute. So I've always put all this shit off till the very
Yep.
last minute. I just don't.
Yeah.
want to deal-
So then what are those big things, right? For her to be set up for success,
Mhm.
right? And, the solution may just be as simple as we need to get the ramp. But even inside of we need to get the ramp, there's still some big milestones that have to happen.
Mhm.
So when I look to stop and see, right, what are some of those like there should probably be 4 big things that will get us on the journey to having the ramp in place.
Believe it or not, it's not that hard. I've already found the place to do it.
Okay.
I've
Yep. So we
had
have to find the place.
I found the place. I had to find the place. I had to get the measurements of the steps so we could determine what size ramps.
Yeah.
And then also, I can't ask for the help because it was actually the people that are down there, my sister and her children, that asked me for the help. So it's on me kind of to be the helper in this case. They're like, can you do anything? I'm like, yes, I can do that. So it's
Yeah,
really
and
honestly just me devoting the time, and the help that was it. The help we kind of get is someone to watch the kids while I make the physical.
there we go. Yes. Right. So there's always a place, especially if you're not co-located, right, with the person you're trying to do something for, whatever you're trying to do. There's always something outside. Like, okay, I need 20 minutes to get on the phone with the place that's going to build the ramp, right? Can I, ask a friend to, watch my kids for that time, right? Or whatever that may be.
You can imagine what a Wii does, what Magic's some sort of Nintendo does for a little bit.
Right. Sometimes we ask the Wii for help.
Help can be Daniel Tiger and the team. And I need
Yeah.
Dora the Explorer to be my helper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cool. So I think, right, we've got to find the place. We've got to get some measurements. They actually have to, do the work. And then, I don't know, we have to test it out, right? Those might be our big tickets, right? So we're going to ask for help and somebody to watch the kids. I would also say you're kind of also on your team are the workers, right? Or the place, those people who you're talking to, because you're not going to physically put this in, right?
Exactly.
So it's almost like you're asking them for help as
Mhm.
well. And just as you said, right, there's power in that we. So when you start to think about the person on the other end of the phone, even if you're paying them, they're on your team, right? They're helping you get something done, right? All right. So what's the feeling that you want, right? What do you want your mother to experience once this is all done?
Just really relief.
Yeah.
It's just to know that she's in safe hands, because that's been one of her biggest issues, is that she can't accept or she doesn't want to have things done for her.
Yeah.
But half the time it's how she ends up into situations like this.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just wanted to know
there's
that.
just be this huge sense of relief once this is all
Yeah.
finished, right? Okay.
Mhm.
So now we get to look at like what is there to really do, right? So you already have the measurements, you already found the place, right? What's left?
Honestly, it's the call.
Yeah.
In the phone tag, and it's there's been a combination of phone tag, but it's the final call. We've had to put some certain things in place as far as who's going to do what, as far as my brother, my sister, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just kind of it's kind of like everyone wanted to go, oh, do I really have to deal with this?
Yeah.
And it's really just making that call, because otherwise it's all in place.
Cool. Yeah. So that's all there is to do, right? So, right, make sure that you put your sheet somewhere in existence where you're going to see it, and that's going to prompt you to actually make the call.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Yeah.
The beautiful piece of that too is, since his wife is on the call, he has an accountability buddy, right? Who can hold him accountable to take it to getting shit done, to stop saying, asking for help, for setting the intention, and then for taking action.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jim, for stepping up into the hot seat.
Oh, no problem at all. Thank you.
Be careful with the gestures that you make. When you're on Zoom, it looks like a hand raise. So with that, I want to say thank you all so much for being here for Fearless Chat. 16, Get Shit Done with Amy Noelle. A lot of elevated sparkleation for Amy Noelle. As we're wrapping up, if there's a big takeaway, or if there's that one thing that you want to take action on, that one thing, if you just want to name what that one thing is that you want to take action on, put it on the chat. There's something really powerful about actually seeing that, and then this collective body being in the listening that be done. So my big thing that I'm going to get is I'm going to finish my book proposal. So I'm putting that, I've been really resisting that for a long time. So I'm going to put that in the
hey Eduardo, while
yeah.
we're doing that, someone privately, I won't mention your name, but someone privately sent me a question that I think is really great. Do I have any guidance for when there are more than 4 milestones? So my answer to that is there's never more than 4 milestones. So if you've got something that's more than 4 milestones, chunk it out, make it 2 columns in your shit sheet, right? Try not to, because as we start to put more and more and more in the space to make things bigger, right? That's when the overwhelm comes. So you may have, let's say it's a year-long project, right? Put 1 quarter on, in each column, for example, right? Chunk things out so that you really don't have any more than 4 milestones, right? Try to really stay within that framework, and you'll find that it's a lot easier to get shit done, and you'll get more shit done.
Yes. So we have people starting businesses. We have people who are finishing websites, book proposals, outline their career vision, finish editing website. So it's really, really awesome. Producing lovely flyer to promote an event. So I already see all the stuff that's like showing up here that I'm really excited actually comes into life in this manifestation of getting shit done. So for all of you who are on the call, so Amy, how do they get their own shit sheet?
Yeah, you get your shit sheet by going to my website, amynoelle.com. You do have to make sure that you enter a little password. I'm going to put my website in there, and you need to use the password llama with a capital L.
And then you get your own personal shit sheet. So it's not just you can always DIY, and
Absolutely.
You can get a fancy shit sheet from Amy. And she's also working on a book on getting shit done. So there's a lot of beautiful stuff that's like in that space. So Amy, thank you so much for being here with us. Elevated sparkleation to you. Self-elevated sparkleation to everyone who's on the call. I have an acute condition called show-tunitis where I burst out into show tunes. And there's a Maria with an exclamation point. So of course I'm like, Maria, I just met a girl named Maria. It's like the musical. It's not just Maria, it's Maria. So I had to acknowledge that. This is the 3rd talk in a 4-part series. The 2 previous ones are on YouTube. Those are free that you have access to. The one next Tuesday is called Shine. So again, we sparked, we shifted, we've got shit done, and now we're gonna shine. So how do we bring shine to that? That conversation is going to be led by one of our Fearless Force women. She's in Tel Aviv. Her name is Zoe Flammenbaum. She runs a thing called the School of Shine.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Nadia. I think that was Nadia. So I will send you the links for that. And then next Thursday, we have another one with Danielle Christine Toussaint. She's a branding storytelling expert, runs an amazing business called She Thinks Purple, specifically with diverse women, an extraordinary storyteller. And then we're moving into the next series, which is around mindfulness, spirituality, and mindset. So I do believe that the mental health repercussions of this COVID-19 were just at the tip of the iceberg of that. So really creating a space to start having those powerful conversations so we can start getting some support and shared conversations around that. Thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time ever on our call, you feel free to text us at 66866, again, 66866, with the passcode Fearless Now. Deborah's gonna put that in the chat. We have a free little gift for you. It's called 10 Simple Backstage Tips to Go from a Speaker to a Star. This completes our call. If you would like to stay on, there is a way in which we complete informally together. So you're welcome to stay on for that. And if you have to go, we know that it's 6 o'clock and people have things that they're going to. We have people here who were in Israel, which means it's now 1 o'clock in the morning. And then we also have people in Australia where it was 7 in the morning. So they're getting ready and going to school. and starting their days. So if you are able to stay on, we're just going to take a couple seconds to wrap and complete here. And if you are leaving us, thank you so much for being here. So we're going to wait a second or so as we filter people out. Elevated sparkleish. And then for those of you that are here, okay, we'll just start our little ritual. So what we're going to do is you're going to acknowledge someone on the call in a very simple way. And then when you're acknowledged, you're going to choose somebody else to acknowledge. And it's going to be very simple. You're going to get the hang of it very quickly. And my request is that you wait until you're acknowledged and not jump in, okay? So Angie Flynn Wright, I see you.
Hi.
I see you and thank you.
Deborah Driscoll, I see you and thank you.
Mira Meggs, I see you and I thank you.
Eduardo, I see you and I thank you.
Oh, I was muted while I was talking. And I said, Amy Noelle, I see you and I thank you. Sorry about that.
Harriet Zaffoni, I see you and I thank you.
Ruby Fraser, I see you and I thank you.
I see you and I thank you.
Ruby, I don't think we heard who it was. Myra. Again.
Mira Meggs again.
Oh, to me? I didn't know that was me.
Yeah.
Ruby, I see you and I thank you.
She's the one who just saw you and thanked you, Mira.
Oh. I can't see who's talking. Let's see who's left. Bernadette's gone. Lori, I see you and I thank you.
You're on mute, Lori.
Oh, it was so good too. Maria with an exclamation point. I see you and I thank you.
And you're on mute, Maria.
Testing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you. Allie, I see you and I thank you.
Aw, thank you. Bernadette, I see you and I thank you.
Nicole, I see you and I thank you.
So Nicole, you get to choose somebody else who hasn't gone yet. So Shannon, Serena, I think are it.
And take her off of mute. There we go.
I just unmuted you.
Was it Serena?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just, oh, there you are. Hi, Serena, I see you and I thank you.
Hi, Shanam, I see you and I thank you.
Thank you. And I don't think there's anybody left, but I see all of you and I thank all of you.
Yes. Thank you all so much for being on our call. We will see you next Tuesday. Till then, be safe, be well, hear less, speak free, love more. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hold on one more second.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.